All right. Here we go. It's Ringside Report. Tonight on the show, is Khabib the greatest MMA fighter of all time? And if he's not, who is? Ringside Report MMA, starting right now. Boom. It started. You see? The show started. It has begun. I am Dave. Freddie and AJ are here with me. What's up, boys? And look, I'm wearing a hat.
What's up, Dave, with the new soundtrack?
I'm wearing, new music. Damn, I
felt like I was like some crazy porn or something, man. Yeah,
all right.
It was good. I was like better than Snoop Dogg, man.
All right. I'm wearing a hat tonight, guys. You guys are always wearing hats, and I was like, I'm going to wear a hat too, all right? So I've got a hat too. You guys get to wear hats, and my head was cold, so I was like, yeah, hat. I might take it off later, but I'm just saying. I'm wearing
You
a
look
hat.
like Justin Bieber, bud.
Thanks. I don't like it too down. I don't want it too down because then I'll be too hot. So it's got to be a little higher up.
I need to shave my head, so that's why I'm wearing a hat.
All right. And AJ always wears a hat
for jiu-jitsu, but
there you go.
Because my
AJ
the beard at
yeah.
some point gets annoying.
It's part of the gimmick with AJ to wear the hat. Welcome to the show. We are back here. We have a big show for you. We will be talking about the greatest MMA fighter of all time, AJ DeLesio. My main man over here will be gloating about being correct about Khabib. Freddie and I, of course, both picked Justin Gaethje last week, and that's okay. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. I still went 4-2.
No.
I still went 4-2 on my UFC 254 picks, so I still feel comfortable with how it all went down. But, I think we learned a lot about Khabib. We learned how good Khabib is. We learned about Justin Gaethje. There were some things that, thinking about the fight a few days later, that I really learned and I really appreciate about the fight. I think Gaethje, didn't have the power to hurt Khabib. And I think that's interesting, both in what Gaethje brings to the table as far as his striking and his punches and the power and the knockout ability, but also how strong Khabib is and what kind of athlete Khabib is and what kind of shape the guy is in. The guy just kept moving forward, ate a bunch of shots, very aggressive, and didn't seem to be phased at all. He didn't seem to fade. Khabib in the past has been a guy who slows down a little bit, maybe isn't as aggressive to finish on the ground. The way he sliced through the guard of Justin Gaethje, the way he was able to submit Justin Gaethje so quickly was very impressive. I was really impressed with the way Khabib's jiu-jitsu game turned out to be, how good his jiu-jitsu was. His striking was really good too, but I was more impressed with, obviously you're going to get the takedown, but Khabib in the past kind of struggled with finishing. You look back at the Michael Johnson fight, he talked to Michael Johnson a lot, he hit him a lot, but he didn't go for that finish. It took him a little bit longer, but with Justin Gaethje, it was straight to the point, and I think that plays a lot into his jiu-jitsu game and how good Khabib is. Khabib, the Khabib that we saw on Saturday night is like the ultimate mixed martial artist, the ultimate fighter. As far as I'm concerned, he's a wrestler who has that quick jiu-jitsu submission ability. He's a guy that can take you down at ease, with ease, and keep you down, and also submit you very quickly, which is, to me, the greatest skill to have in a mixed martial artist. And we've never really seen a fighter like this before. We've never seen a fighter with the Khabib abilities, the wrestling mixed with the jiu-jitsu, that serious, full, well-rounded grappling game. And I was just blown away with how good Khabib is and how impressive his skills are. And I was really disappointed that he decided to hang it up, that he decided to retire, because skill-wise, Khabib might be the greatest of all time, just based on how he's able to win fights and the fact that 29-0 now, hasn't taken a ton of damage. Seems like he's got the fighting style to continue winning and not take a lot of damage going forward in his career, but he chooses to stop now, and that's his choice. But a little bit disappointing, because I think what we saw on Saturday afternoon was the Ultimate Fighting Machine. I think we saw the best version of Khabib Nurmagomedov. So I was very, very impressed with Khabib. And we're going to talk about the numbers. We have some numbers. We have some graphics here for you in a second that we're going to show you. And we'll talk about who the greatest of all time really is. But skill-wise, I would put Khabib definitely up there. And I'm not ready to call him the greatest of all time just yet. We'll talk about it. We'll have a debate here. But I was super impressed with Khabib. He's one of the greatest for sure. He's in the conversation. You can't have the conversation without talking about Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Look, as far as his performance on Saturday, you could only applaud him. That was an incredible performance. And you talk about the grappling, and I completely agree with what you're saying. Like, we always knew Khabib was probably the best wrestler at 155, and he showed a lot of finishing skills against Gaethje. So he was going for an armbar transition to triangle. It was a beautiful transition and got the finish. Me, what I was most impressive still with him is the stand-up, because I said for weeks Gaethje is the better striker, and I was wrong. I was completely wrong, because Gaethje started well but never put Khabib in danger, and it felt like Khabib was just like gauging, trying to understand the distance. And once he had understood the distance and how he could hurt Gaethje, from there it just changed. And Gaethje also looked a little winded early, I found. Maybe it's the stress, how to control his breathing and all, but at some point he looked overwhelmed, and from there I could feel like this is Khabib's fight. About midway into the first round, you could go oh, this is Khabib's fight. Khabib has taken over. So very impressed. And we'll talk about the all-time fighters. But yeah, Khabib is in the conversation. I don't have him number one, but we'll talk about that later.
Khabib Nurmagomedov. You got to look at the numbers. You got to look at what he's done. And AJ, I'm going to let you go here in a second. I know you're very pumped about Khabib and everything he's done. But you look at his record now, 29-0 MMA. 13-0 UFC, 4 UFC championships. When I say UFC championships, I'm talking about, fights where you've either won or defended a UFC title, and Khabib has done that 4 times. And his opponent's combined UFC record, 124-82. That's a winning percentage of 60.2%. So he's faced some serious competition in his UFC career. But you look at that 29-0, 13-0 UFC, that's very impressive. I think a lot of people are going to remember that undefeated record for Khabib. AJ, you can... Is he the greatest? Is he... Hold on, AJ. What? Is he the greatest of all time? Tell me.
I'm going to tell you something. What kills me is that it took you guys 29 fights to realize that Khabib is the greatest of all time.
I'm still not ready to admit it.
You know what kills me?
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you something. What kills me the most is that on the last fight, while you guys went with Justin Gaethje and I went with Khabib, because you guys, and I told you, you forgot who Khabib is? You made a big mistake. And this was a fight that not only did he shine like he always shines, but he went above and beyond. He went with emotion, and I said that on the last weeks. I said Khabib is coming here to fight with emotions. He came into this fight to prove something. He came to fight in honor of his dad, in honor of his coach. He came in for his team at AKA. He came in for his team in Dagestan. This guy had, literally a whole world behind him, a lot of pressure. But for Khabib, it doesn't make a difference. He has in his mind to get the job done, and he did it. And I'm going to tell you something. You were talking about Michael Johnson. That's 2016. He won the beatdown of the year over Michael Johnson. Mm-hmm. And let's not forget about submissions. You talk about weak submissions. The guy has 11 submissions in MMA. And I'm going to tell you another interesting stat that I found out, that Khabib's first fight, his first fight, which was back in 2008, September 13th of 2008. His first fight, he won by a triangle, and he beat Vyusal Bayamuramov back in the Ukraine. And his last fight in 2020 against Justin Gaethje, he ends his career with the triangle. And that's impressive. His first fight and his last fight were by the same manner. And that shows you the type of guy Khabib is. He's able to to do things that most people can't. He pulls out the magic. He's more than Magic Johnson. He's more than Magic Tom. This guy is the real Magic, man. He comes out and he wins.
And
and
look,
he wins in fashion.
Khabib is great.
Historical books.
Sure.
I'm not only saying he's great.
Khabib
he's
is
the
great.
greatest of all time, and we were lucky to see him fight in our lifetime. That's what I'm saying.
And look, Khabib, we are lucky to have seen Khabib. He is a great fighter. He is one of the greatest fighters of all time. I would like his career to continue so that he could cement his legacy, perhaps, as the greatest fighter of all time. But again, I've got to point to the numbers, and the numbers are telling me a little bit of a different story. Now, Khabib, 29-0, 13-0 UFC, 4 UFC championships. Great. Jon Jones, 26 and 0. I mean, really, or it really should be 27-0 because he was beating the hell out of Matt Hamill, and then Steve Mazzagatti, the referee, decided that the referees Jon Jones were the elbows that Jon Jones were throwing were 12-6 and were illegal. So instead of ruling it a no contest or giving him a warning or whatever, he disqualified Jon Jones, and that is the only blemish on the perfect record of the greatest fighter of all time, Jon Bones Jones. 27-0 with one no contest, which was really a win, a second win, a knockout victory over Daniel Cormier. It really should be 28-0 if we're not counting the drug test failures, but I guess we're going to count drug test failures. But I'm going to call him 28-0 here, okay? And I'm going to call him 21-0 UFC with 14 official UFC championships, and that's official. 14 official UFC championship victories compared to Khabib's 4. And to me, to be considered the greatest of all time, you not only have to do it impressively, you have to do it over a long period of time. And Khabib is great, but Khabib, if you look at what he did in the UFC, 4 UFC championships, 13-0. Jon Jones is really 20-0 in the UFC with 14 UFC titles. Just look at what he's done, the Hall of Famers that he's put away. I find it very difficult not to call Jon Jones the greatest fighter of all time. I have a hard time doing that. Go ahead, Fred.
Jon Jones, at some point, Jon Jones has 6 wins against guys that held the championship. He defeated Shogun, Quinton Rampage Jackson, Machida, Rashad, Vitor Belfort, and Daniel Cormier. That's 6 guys that were once champion. Jon Jones owns victory against all of them. So, yeah, I go with Jon Jones also as the all-time greatest fighter. Yeah, his off the field actions, are a little bit questionable. But as far as pure talent, I'm with you, Dave. I got Jon Jones. But that doesn't take anything away from Khabib. Like, being 20, let's be honest, what we're having here is basically a subjective discussion. Like, Khabib, for a lot of people, will be number 1, and they make good points. But I like the title defenses, like you say, Dave, and I like the list of people that he defeated. Khabib has a nice list of wins, but it's not as impressive as Jon Jones.
I agree 100%. AJ, I know you disagree. AJ, you're talking, and I can't even hear you. There you go. AJ, what?
Listen, I'm not disagreeing that Jon Jones is probably one of the greatest fighters of all time. But this is some food for thought here. Look at Jones. Did he not fight many fighters past their prime? You named a whole bunch of guys. They were past their prime. You've got a very shallow division compared to the lightweight division that Khabib fought. You've got a guy who you can argue that he lost his last 2 fights. You can say what you want, but there's a split out there that believe he lost the Rays and he might have lost, the Santos. The thing is that those are arguable. And the thing with Khabib is you cannot argue any of his wins.
Okay.
Well,
let's look at. I have the list in front of me, AJ. Look at this. I've done a lot of research here, buddy. I've got the list in front of me. These are the wins that Khabib has and that Jon Jones has. Let's compare their ride in the UFC. Jon Jones entered into the UFC. He fought 0-2 UFC fighter Andre Guzmão. Khabib fought Kamal Shalarus, okay? So they both fought guys that never won in the UFC in their first UFC fights. Khabib beat Gleason Tebow, okay. John Jones in his second UFC fight beat Stephan Bonner. Khabib in his third UFC fight beat Thiago Tavares.
A past fighter of Stephen Bonner compared to Tebow. Come on.
Not at the
Well,
time.
okay.
Compared to Tebow, I don't know about that. All right. John Jones also took on Matt Hamill, Brandon Vera, Vladimir Matyushenko, Ryan Bader, Shogun. And Shogun was a world champion at the time, so you can say what you want about him being over the hill, but he was a world champion at the time.
No, okay.
Rampage Jackson, who was not far removed, Rampage at that time from being a world champion. He was still one of the top contenders. So John Jones, the run that he went on, Bader, Shogun, Rampage, Machida when Machida was still good, Rashad when Rashad was still good, Vitor when Vitor was smashing everybody and was on TRT. You want to say John Jones failed drug test, John Jones this, John Jones that? He smashed TRT Vitor. After TRT Vitor broke...
Argument there.
Yeah, Vitor broke his arm. John Jones didn't tap. He kept fighting, beat the shit out of Vitor, and then made Vitor tap to an Americana. I was there, AJ. Were you there?
Yeah,
I was 10 rows back. Were you there?
I was watching it straight
then
on,
John
and I
Jones,
can tell you that
come
fight,
on.
Well, that's questionable.
Come on.
That's questionable.
I'm just looking at what Khabib has done.
What is questionable?
Look at Khabib's list of guys. Abel Trujillo, Pat Healy. The only guy he really beat over the past, until Conor, the only legit guy Khabib ever beat was Rafael dos Anjos. He beat Rafael dos Anjos, then dos Anjos went on a run, became world champion, right? And then I was like, yo, but Khabib's the last guy to beat him. Khabib destroyed him. Khabib would still destroy him. How come Khabib's not champion? There's a long time when Khabib should have been champion. And that's, not really Khabib's fault. That's kind of the UFC and the way things kind of shook out. But, Khabib had opportunities. Khabib was supposed to fight Tony Ferguson right after fighting Rafael dos Anjos. But Tony Ferguson fell out, so Khabib fights Daryl Horcher instead. And you're like,
2 years later. 2 years later. There's a 2-year gap between Dos Anjos and Horcher. So there's probably some, I don't remember if there was injuries or anything, but if Khabib is not active for 2 years, there's a little blame that probably has to go on him if he's not the champion.
Well,
I'm not saying like it's his fault, but it's not the UFC's fault.
Not with fighting.
Not to mention all those times that he couldn't make weight for his fights. Like, you could look back in Khabib's history in the UFC. How many times did he miss weight? Abel Trujillo, he had to fight at a catch weight at 158.5 pounds because he couldn't make 155. Daryl Horcher, he even came in heavy at 160 pounds. And then he was supposed to fight Tony Ferguson, but he couldn't because he ate tiramisu the week of the fight, didn't make weight, and then Tony Ferguson wound up fighting Lando Venata instead another time. And that's kind of the story for me with Khabib's career. It's, well, he beat Conor, and he never fought Tony Ferguson. That, to me, is the story of Khabib, and it's unfortunate, and I would love for Khabib to go 30-0, beat George St. Pierre, and shut everybody up and be the greatest fighter of all time. If he could beat George St. Pierre, if he could remain for one more fight and beat GSP, I would bow down and give him the reign as greatest fighter of all time if he could beat that guy. But John Jones, I mean, we're talking about him moving up to heavyweight. You're talking about pound-for-pound rankings. Khabib's fighting at one weight division that he's struggled to make weight for, He is for sure the greatest 155-pound fighter of all time. Better than BJ Penn, better than Frankie Edgar, better than all those guys. For sure. Khabib is the 155 king. He's way better than Conor McGregor. He's one of the greatest fighters I've ever seen. If you want to go skill-wise, he might be the best, but again, I think maybe Demetrius Johnson, because just the well-roundedness of what Demetrius Johnson was able to do, I was more impressed. So to really define skills is very, very difficult. Are you kidding? Khabib never picked up a guy, in the air.
What are you talking about?
Picked up a guy in the air, and then as he's bringing him down, arm bars him to finish the fight. That was the greatest thing I've ever seen, and Demetrius Johnson did that. Look, I'm just saying that people forget. People forget because it's a recency bias. You forget all the
No, no,
great
no.
things
I
that
remember
everybody
that.
else has done because you only
I remember
remember
that.
what you've just seen. Khabib
Look,
is
great
great.
submission. I'll give you that. But let's not forget what Khabib did. Choked out Connor in like almost killed him. Flew out of the ring to attack Connor's like teammates. I
Who
mean,
cares
this
about
is
that?
the Khabib that you have. What it comes down to is this. I agree, but you're forgetting who he beat: Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor, Edson Barboza, even Michael Johnson at that time was like was rolling. And then you got Alia Quinta, which was an amazing fight. I'm just saying this, Dave. You know, you can say what you want, and I agree. John Jones is one of the greatest fighters of all time, but his division wasn't as stacked as the lightweight division is. With the fighters that are there, it's not comparable. I'm sorry, and like I said, you can question his last two fights if you really want him.
Well, John Jones
Khabib did it.
disagrees.
You can't
John
question
Jones has been
any of his
talking.
fights.
John Jones has been talking about this. There's a tweet from
Sure
John
he
Jones
is.
a couple days ago. I've won 15 world titles. He just won his 4th. The fact that this is even a conversation is mind-blowing to me.
Youngest
Look,
champion,
I'm
John
gonna tell you.
Jones, also.
Yeah,
Come on,
no,
man.
I
John
agree
Jones
with
is.
that.
Let's go through
Look,
some of these John
you've got a
Jones
guy-
tweets because he's talked about it a lot. The same company who accused me of possible steroids vindicated me from it. If I just started fighting for titles 4 fights ago, I look like an absolute beast too. But okay, I guess you're only worth your last performance in this game. I got signed by the UFC literally 9 months after my very first MMA practice. Unheard of. When I signed with the UFC, I was one of the youngest fighters on the roster, youngest champion in the history of the sport, and have only had 3 competitive fights. He's not wrong. Like, I got to stand up for John
But that
Jones
shows
because
you-
I got to stand up for what I believe is true. And I believe that John Jones is the greatest fighter of all time, and everybody jumping on Khabib and the Khabib train right now, you know, it's just because you saw him and you don't like John Jones. And AJ, I know you don't like John Jones, and that's okay, but
No,
Freddie
I
and I
never
are
said
seeing
that.
it clearly. Freddie and I are seeing it very clearly, and we recognize that Khabib is great, but John Jones is the greatest.
Only defending
I'm
the
gonna tell
title
you
twice,
something.
that's an issue.
Yeah.
Like, only defending the title twice since beating. Well, actually, he was defending against Connor. So defending the title 3 times, that's not enough to be the greatest. I mean, come on. There's a lot. Like, George St. Pierre was a more dominant champion. Anderson Silva was a more dominant champion. And I even told Dave, Jose Aldo was a more dominant champion. I'm not saying they're more skilled, and I'm not saying their career didn't, like, Aldo and Silva, they had bad end of their career, but their championship run, much more dominant than Khabib.
Yep, I agree.
You know what? You keep forgetting what Khabib has done like throughout his year. 2016 International Fighter of the Year. 2017 Performance of the Year against Edson Barboza. Even earlier, going back to 2013, Breakthrough Fighter of the Year. You go to 2016, like I said, he had the beatdown of the year, the stare down of the year. This guy Khabib had it all. And you know what?
Stare down.
The thing is, he did it without cheating. There's no cheating with Khabib. He went in there and delivered a performance every time he fought. And the thing is that he fought with no one can question if he won that fight. And not too many fighters out in the world of MMA can say the same. And I'm not saying, look, John Jones can say what he wants through his Twitter feed and wherever
feed.
else puts his shit. His Twitter feed or whatever he feeds his birds. I'm going to tell you something.
Twitter.
He should be, listen, Twitter. So the thing is that he should be looking at Khabib and giving him some accolades and saying, you know what, okay, he's going to be pound for pound number 1 for how long? Till someone else comes. He's retired. He can only probably be on that list for, what, maybe 6 months?
Until
Maybe
John
a
Jones,
year max?
until John Jones
Until John
fights
Jones
Stipe
fights.
and beats Stipe. Yet
Oh, wait,
there
people
you go.
want
Wait,
me.
so-
Yet people want me to stay quiet and let him have his moment while I just sit back and watch my hard work get moved down the rankings. It's not fair to my family or the team of people who have sacrificed to get me this far. At Johnny Bones. Not fair
I bet
to his
within-
team or his family.
I bet
Why is
within
it
a
not
year,
fair? He's not
AJ
fighting.
himself.
Go ahead, Fred.
I bet within a year, AJ himself calls somebody else the greatest because you're always living in the moment. We're not taking away. Look, Khabib, definitely one of the legends, future Hall of Famer. They've said it, greatest lightweight. I have no issue with any of those. But for him also to ask to be considered, like that's something that people give you. You know, like for you to stand in the ring and say, I'm retiring and I want you guys to consider me the greatest, I'm like, nah, that's not really how it works. I'm
That's
sorry.
not how it works, dude. Please, UFC,
Look.
you have to give me this. I am greatest fighter. You have to give me this. I am greatest #1 pound for pound. Please put this. And then they do it. It's like, why are they kissing Khabib's ass so hard? When's the last time Dana had one of his champions walk away and he kissed his ass this hard? Most of the time you walk away from Dana and he kicks you out the door. What's the deal? What does Khabib have on Dana?
I'm not sure. And look, I believe
he has respect.
And George St. Pierre. What about George St. Pierre? Are you disrespecting George St. Pierre? He doesn't have respect. Sorry, Fred, but AJ upset me.
Listen.
Dana was mean to George. Let Fred talk.
George refused fights.
Like, I believe Khabib is going to stay retired. I think culturally I believe he made his decision. I believe he's not lying when he said he told his mother that this was his last fight, so I believe him. But I'm just going to say, like, if you're vacating the title, there's no more title on the line now. We could have, like, that bout against GSP against Khabib at 165. Let's just have it at 165 so everybody's happy. Khabib doesn't have to get off the scale early, you know, while the thing is still moving. And we have a great fight, and we can see who's the greatest of all time.
Yeah, Khabib also cheated on the scales. Let's not forget, this fight, I don't think he made 155 pounds for this fight either. That scale was wobbly AF. Okay, there's Khabib. There are his stats. Okay, I just want to compare him to some of the other greatest fighters of all time. So here's John Jones. Here's what he's done. 26-1-1, 19-1 in the UFC, 14 championships. His winning percentage, his opponents, he's actually faced tougher competition than anybody on the list at 63.06%. So that's their combined UFC record. All of his opponents, 198 and 116. John Jones has faced tougher competition statistically than Khabib at 60.2%. And then if you look at George Rush St. Pierre, faced a little bit, not quite a stiff competition at 60.1%, but you look at the accomplishments, far outweigh what Khabib has done in the UFC over this stretch of time. 26-2 MMA, 20-2 in the UFC, both losses that he avenged, and then some against Sarah and Hughes, and 13 UFC championships. I mean, George St. Pierre, you know, this is the thing, AJ. You can look at skill, and you can look at how one guy did this and how one guy did that, and Khabib is great, but Khabib is great for this era. John Jones, what he did was great for his era. George St. Pierre, what he did was great for his era. The game is always evolving. The game is always changing, and skills, you know, seem obsolete over time. And Khabib is a great fighter in 2020, but in 2030, there might be a bunch of Khabibs, and he might not seem so special. It's really the numbers, and Khabib's undefeated number, that will definitely help him for conversation of greatest of all time. But the 4 UFC titles will not help him when you're talking about who the greatest is. And John Jones with 14, George St. Pierre with a 20-2 UFC record. You know, George St. Pierre, 22 fights in the UFC, 20 victories, 13 UFC championships. How can you not say GSP is in that conversation? Demetrius Johnson, you know, you guys might not be so down with this, but you look at what he's done, 12 UFC championships, most consecutive defenses with 11. No one has ever done that. I don't know if anyone ever will. 15-2 in the UFC. And, you know, this guy, he lost to Henry Cejudo, and then the UFC said, we don't really need you anymore. But he's 1-1 with Henry Cejudo. And Demetrius Johnson, again, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, UFC champion of all time. I don't know if anybody will ever tie his record for consecutive title defenses. And then our main man that we're going to talk about in a second, who's fighting on Saturday, Anderson Silva, 11 UFC championships. Now his career, of course, after the Weidman losses, kind of took a dip. He shouldn't be fighting anymore, really. But you look at what he did and his era, people were calling him the greatest of all time for a very long time until he lost to Chris Weidman, and then everybody forgets, you know? Everybody forgets when you take one loss.
That's why I think you got to look at the run they have as far as a champion, because a lot of these guys, the end of their career, it's not the greatest. Anderson Silva, his end of career is a little shady, and there's other guys like that. But let's look at their championship run. That's where you see the dominance. So I'm not going to hold against Anderson Silva the fact that he had a end of career that was up and down. So Anderson Silva also, as far as I'm concerned, probably more dominant champion than Khabib. Not taking anything away from Khabib.
I agree with you 110%. I think Anderson Silva was for sure a more dominant champion than Khabib. And AJ,
Look,
get your mic a little bit closer to your
again.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Damn it. So listen, if you're gonna look at the longest winning streaks, I mean, you got to give it to Anderson Silva. He's
Gotta
got
give it to him.
16, but you got to give it to him. So I'll agree with you on that. As if you go with the longest winning streaks in MMA, Anderson Silva is number one. Then it's followed by 13, and that's Khabib. That's Max Holloway. That's Demetrius Johnson. That's John Jones, and that's GSP. Everybody that you mentioned, that should be a ranked number one. But you know what? The bottom line is that it's Khabib that just won. It's Khabib that defeated Justin Gaethje, where a lot of the betting odds were going on Justin Gaethje, including you two guys that went with Gaethje, and you're not the only ones. But
Whatever.
the most of the world knows who Khabib is, and Khabib came out. And he hasn't been defeated, was a clean fighter from the beginning of his career, from 2008 to 2020. The guy is leaving the UFC. Will he ever fight George St. Pierre? It's possible. I don't think it's going to happen because, like DC said in his commentary,
it's over.
Khabib doesn't lie. He said it's over. He promised his mom he wouldn't fight. We'll probably never get a chance to see, Khabib fight Conor again or to fight GSP. But it does give an opportunity for GSP to come back and fight someone like Conor. That I can see. But
no,
you know what?
No, I don't think it's going to happen.
Anything's possible.
I think Khabib retiring puts the nail in the coffin into GSP's career as well.
Who's the next lightweight champion? Because I got a crazy maybe opinion on that.
Well, do you
Who's
think
the next
George?
Lightweight champion?
We'll get to that in a second. But do you think George is for sure done now? I think he's for sure done. Right? No Khabib, no more fight. AJ's not sure. I think he's for sure done. George is not coming back either.
Unless it's Khabib that's coming back.
That's it.
Georgia is retired.
Yeah, I think Khabib's retired. I think George is retired too. Who's the next lightweight champion?
Justin Gaethje.
Conor.
Justin Gaethje. He defeats Conor.
They're gonna do Conor and Poirier for the belt.
They're gonna put the belt for that one?
Yeah, why not?
You think?
Yep.
Yeah, it's Conor. They will trip over themselves to give their belt back to Conor, so everybody can be happy, and they will for sure make that a title fight. I mean, it's a main event and it's not a title fight. Something's wrong there. It's going to be a title fight. I'm surprised they weren't
official yet.
Yeah, well, if they can get that fight together, it'll be for the title. Come on, really?
I think they're gonna see Gaethje against Conor.
Well, Gaethje was like, I don't feel so bad. I'm not banged up. I'm ready to go. If they don't want to do that Poirier fight, if they can't get it going, I could fight Conor. I could fight Dustin, and we could do it for the belt. I want to go again. And, Dustin and Justin is an interesting fight because Poirier beat him too, and Gaethje would like to get a little revenge there. It's not bad. It's not bad. But I think if they do Conor, Dustin, Poirier, they'll probably wind up putting the belt on the line for that one. That's my guess.
Absolutely. But like I said, last week's show, no matter who wins the title at lightweight, you're always going to have Conor lingering over as the greatest and really the champion of that division. That's the thing. Khabib will always be behind there.
Khabib.
Well, yeah.
You said Conor.
Yeah, Khabib.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said
Conor. I apologize. Conor is the greatest in some sense, but Khabib will always be like that shadow behind whoever wins that title. And you know what? Justin Gaethje,
for a while,
if he would have fought more impressively.
Yeah, but just like George St. Pierre was that kind of shadow behind whatever when Johnny Hendricks and Robbie Lawler were fighting for the belt, and eventually George St. Pierre shadow disappeared.
But I'm going to give some props here to Khabib because right now the three guys that we're talking in the conversations are Conor, Dustin, and Gaethje, and those are the last three wins that that Khabib has. So like if anything, Khabib just like cleared the top of that division pretty much. So whoever like if we're gonna be the next, let's say for the next 2 years, those are the 3 guys that are in the title scene. Khabib could just stay at home and laugh and say, I'm still champion.
That's why we should stop fucking around and we should just do Conor versus Tony Ferguson at the beginning of 2021 for the belt. Like, Khabib's out of the picture. Let's just get the 2 best, most interesting guys in the division and have them fight. I know Gaethje beat Ferguson, but, like, Ferguson was, 9 months removed from knee surgery or something? He's crazy. He wasn't supposed to be fighting. He's just too tough for his own good, you know? So I think you do Tony Ferguson, Conor McGregor for the belt. That's the big fight. Like, if you're talking, like, Khabib's out of the picture now. So if we're talking about what's the big fight at 155, well, who are the 2 biggest names? Is it Conor and Dustin Poirier? I don't think so. I think it's Conor and Tony Ferguson. Or if Masvidal wants to drop back down to 155, which I don't think he's doing. He's on that Trump diet, straight KFC, baby.
You know what? I agree with you on that, because if you're going to look at pay-per-view numbers and whatnot to start 2021, the way 2020 started with Conor, I mean, you're going to look at with Ferguson fighting, just the build up to that fight. I mean, it's going to be nuts. It's going to be a soap opera. There's going to be all kinds of action, and they'll get that 1 million plus pay-per-views. And on that note as well, I mean, you know, if you listen to Dana White prior to 254, I mean, he thought this was going to be a blockbuster. And, you know, the only thing I could take into consideration is that the fight was at 2 p.m. Eastern time here, which is not a great time to be watching anything on a Saturday. But it still managed to pull off like, how much was it? 750, so 675,000 pay-per-views. 500,000 in North America, 175,000 internationally, which is still pretty solid considering that it's an afternoon pay-per-view. But you know what? That's a difference. You get a Conor on the card, you're going to get the 1 million pay-per-views. You would have got Conor fighting Khabib again, it would have been over 1 million pay-per-views. But the thing is that the most recognized athlete out there, and I said it last week as well, when you look at the most downloaded videos or the most watched videos, it's Khabib. He has over 222 million views on his YouTube or anything to do with Khabib just this year alone. So that's what I'm saying, is that Khabib is a hot ticket, but his pay-per-view sales didn't reflect that on this last fight.
Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about with the 200 million views and Khabib.
It's 222 million views. Yeah, these are stats that we got from Dana White. But, you know,
exactly.
But if you look at, like, Khabib's Twitter feed or his Instagram feed, the guy is, like, monstrous numbers. You know, he's popular. And let's be honest, more people know Khabib than they know GSP right now. That's hands down. More people know Conor than they know GSP right now, hands down. But the thing is that for old school MMA followers, everybody knows GSP. But that's not your
But what does that have to do
on
with
and off
greatness?
fans, you know?
Can we just?
It still has to do with greatness. Like, when you look at numbers, he brings in numbers, man. He brings eyes to the UFC.
But that has nothing to do with actually, you know, skills or accomplishments in the octagon. It's just numbers.
I think his skills at
maybe we should change the word for dominant.
Sure, he's great. He's great.
You know, his skills in like performances and whatnot. And like Freddie says, if you look at his last 4 fights, he beat all guys that should have been champion if Khabib wasn't there, or former champions.
People are going to have these debates. People are going to have debates about who the greatest of all time is for a long time. And, you know, people like AJ will be wrong, and people like Freddie and I will be right. And that's just how the world works.
You were
and
wrong
that's okay.
last week, guys.
But let's just forget. Let's just remember.
Okay.
Let's remember just Khabib's words on women's MMA. Khabib's advice to women wanting to fight in
Don't
MMA.
get political, Dave. Don't get political. No, come on, Dave. That's not cool.
Starts a fighting career. What tips do you recommend, especially for a female?
What tips do you recommend, especially for a female trying to get into MMA? Here's Khabib's answer.
For female, I have very good advice. Be fighter inside your home. And one more advice. All the time
So he says, be a fighter in your home. All the time, beat your husband, smash him really bad. What? That's just Khabib.
Why you gotta do that? Why you gotta do that to Khabib?
Because
So bad, man.
I'm sick
know what?
of people
Like something
celebrating Khabib. I'm sick of people celebrating Khabib like he's this great man, and we're all supposed to feel bad for Khabib, and we're all supposed to love Khabib. I see Khabib
Number
as who
one.
he really is. Khabib is a guy who endorses a brutal dictator in Ramzan Kadyrov, okay? He endorses Kadyrov, he lives under his regime, and he likes it. Khabib is a rich athlete. He could live in the United States like many rich athletes from foreign countries have done, like Anderson Silva, but he chooses to stay in Dagestan, Russia. Why? Because he likes that culture, he endorses it, and it is oppressive to a lot of people. Ramzan Kadyrov rounds up gay people and tortures and imprisons them and kills a lot of them as well. This is practice that is happening where Khabib is living. This is something that Khabib most likely is endorsing. This is the same man that is giving money to homeless people on the street to do push-ups. This is the same man that doesn't think women should do MMA. You want to say it's cultural? Fine. I'm going to tell you that I don't like it as a character trait for Khabib. There's a lot of things with Khabib that I don't like, that I don't respect,
whoa.
and everybody wants to
Listen,
come out and talk about Khabib as this great guy, and I just want to remind
about John
everybody
Jones?
of the truth. Yeah, John Jones
about John Jones? You're
trains,
talking about Jones. He
trains
hit a
with
pregnant
Holly
woman
Holm.
with his car and took
Trains with Holly Holm.
No,
You
no,
think
no, let's look at
Khabib would ever
shooting
train
at homeless
any
people.
women in Khabib's camp, bro?
Have
Picograms.
an accident with a pregnant woman and run away.
Exactly,
That's
Dave.
not very honorable.
Exactly, Dave. Let's not forget that. Cheating like with picograms. Let's be honest, Dave. You know what?
Posing
Khabib
pictures
on his
posing for pictures, endorsing and helping MMA fighters at a gym run and controlled by Ramzan Kadyrov, a brutal dictator who murders people for the crime in that country of being a homosexual. John Jones isn't doing that, is
trains out of
he?
AKA.
Is John Jones doing that?
How
Well,
did
we
we
don't
get
know.
here,
He
man?
shot at homeless people the last time.
Huh?
I don't know. But the thing is, look. John
This
Jones
is an
no, like,
anti-Kadyrov
no saint.
show. What?
Well,
Sorry,
you know what,
Fred.
Dave? Look,
Do you guys want to? What are you guys defending the actions of Ramzan Kadyrov? I'm sorry. Are you guys
Not at
like
all.
Khabib?
Not at
I
all.
don't
But
care
we
about
were
him. I
we
care
were
about
talking
Khabib.
about dominance, and all of a sudden, man, we were talking about like geopolitical. Like that's not my fault right now, man. Usually, I'm the one that brings the politics, but this one's on you, Dave. It's on you.
Dave, you're gonna get hate mail again. You're gonna get all kinds of people like trashing you. But the thing is this:
I'm
it's
just
not
telling
Khabib.
you who
Listen,
was Khabib in a video where he was giving homeless guys money to do push-ups? He was like, "Yeah, do push-ups for like $3."
I
You know
think
what I mean?
that's fake
He's
news.
giving
I
them
think that's fake
It's
news.
not fake. It was real. We all saw it. Okay, AJ, you saw it. He's giving
It
these
was.
guys.
Yeah, I know.
He's giving these guys like $1. This is a multimillionaire athlete who's making homeless people do push-ups for $1. That is not
He's
nice
motivating them.
behavior. No,
Listen,
he's a
Anthony
dick.
dick.
Robbins does the same thing with like
He's-
the North American market. He motivates you. You got to buy his videos. Maybe to Khabib it was a form of motivation. And the bottom line is
It's
that
cruel.
if you looked at if you listen to his like exit speech, his retirement speech on Saturday, you can hear the true words of Khabib. Why don't you play that? And you can hear like the amazing words he said about family and life. And he thanked everybody in the UFC, and he was very humble about it. And you know what? That's what I listen to Khabib. I listen to those words because the bottom line is everybody screws up at some point or might say something that we don't want to say. We've done it on our show how many times? But the thing is that it doesn't really mean that's him. But on Saturday when he was retiring, you can see that's Khabib. And regardless of his background or religious beliefs or whatever, the truth is that that's the champion that I want to be looking at. Just like GSP, who comes out and he talks like, like the sage that he is. The bottom line is that Khabib has done mistakes. George has done mistakes. We all know that. But there's different mistakes when you're going around and hitting pregnant women with a car and taking off. That's a different story.
At least he respects the right of that pregnant woman to drive.
What, drove off with her car because he forgot his stash in there?
I respect the champion who thinks men and women should have equal rights.
You know what? I could say something, but I don't want to say it because like the twins, were hanging with him in Russia, so I can't say some shit. But
Don't say nothing.
I know, Dave.
Take it easy.
I won't say anything.
I don't want to
but let me
reveal
say
anything,
something.
but let's just say
But hey,
I don't have tons of
here's-
love for Khabib because of who he is. He's a great fighter, but
Okay,
I don't have a
and
lot of
Dave,
respect for the man.
Dave, I completely agree with you, okay? But at the same time, if you start analyzing a lot of these fighters, there's a lot of guys with a questionable background. So,
But, well,
let-
Fred, come on. No. There's a difference between being a Trump supporter and a Ramzan Kadyrov supporter. Like, there's a
but
lot
what
of
about-
UFC
what-
fighters that
what
are Trump
about
supporters.
domestic
and,
violence.
Well,
There's
yeah,
a lot
I don't
of
think.
fighters with domestic violence
Yeah.
issues,
Yeah, and Mike Perry should not be fighting at that UFC card. By the way, Robbie Lawler got hurt, so he's not going to be fighting.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Look, you're completely right. You could say Khabib is not a good human being. I have no problem with you saying that. I'm just saying, like, let's appreciate the fight and let outside the cage be outside the cage. And if you want to judge him on that, no problem. But let's not mix both of them. Khabib is a great fighter, and
Of course.
what he does, the stupidness he does outside the cage should not take away from his accomplishments. But yeah, you could think he's a jerk for that. That I have no issue with.
I just
There's a
don't.
lot of jerks.
I just don't like the heaping of glory on Khabib, like he's this great man and he's this perfect guy and he's a family man and it's his father and he's so sad and I understand and he is and that is a part of him, but like let's not forget who Khabib is as well, and the UFC glosses over that. But everybody talks about who John Jones is and the things Conor does outside of the octagon. Well, Khabib isn't so great either, so I'm not really a big fan
fair.
of. I think honestly, punch an old man in a pub, fine, but allow your
It's not really fine.
Well, no, it's not fine, but some of the things that Khabib does seem worse.
Neither is allegedly being accused of sexual misconduct, which articles came out about Conor and things like that. Yeah, I'm saying there's a lot of guys with a questionable background.
That's just media, Fred. No actual law enforcement put any charges on Conor for any of that. Those are just rumors and stories posted in media, which, as you know, Fred, is all fake. It's all fake news out there. As a ardent Trump supporter, that the media is all fake. I'm surprised at you, Fred, believing in these fake stories about Conor McGregor.
I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm a Democrat hater. There's a difference.
Yeah, well, whatever. But you believe that the news is all fake, and of course, when they say things about Conor McGregor, that's when you choose to believe the news. Shame on you, Fred. Come on. What are you talking about?
That's not what I'm saying. I just said there's a lot of guys with a questionable background.
Yeah.
You could find some things to hold against a lot of fighters. Like
Sure. But there's levels to this game, right? And Khabib is top
but that
level.
goes with all sports. When you think about it, like, look, none of us here are saints. That's for sure. But you know what?
You are, AJ.
Sometimes, come to think of it,
Keep the mic near your mouth,
But
though.
the thing is this. I'm sure you like that, eh, Dave? But the thing is this.
You're like muffled now for some reason. I don't know what's going on with you.
Am I muffled or what? See,
Stop holding.
jinxed
Stop
me,
touching it so much. But just put it near your mouth.
what do you think I
What
am?
is the
The
matter
guy
with
from
you?
like CNN
All right.
on the Zoom
Can
call?
we talk about Anderson
Listen.
Silva in that fight?
No. Let's just get back to one last thing about Khabib. Do you agree with me? His
No.
exit speech was awesome. It brought tears to a lot of people's eyes, Dave.
who cares, man?
Freddie, listen, it brought a tear to my eye.
I don't really care
And I'll
about.
tell you something. What?
No.
You know what? Khabib
I felt nothing.
Is, in my opinion, the greatest fighter of all time.
Yeah,
Hands down.
obviously.
And actually,
And
I
that's my
didn't
opinion.
even listen to it because we were doing the watch along, and my sound was off. So I don't like. I just read about it. Honestly, come on, man.
No. I was listening to it, and then I rewatched it, and I
Thank
rewatched
you
it,
to
and
everybody. Thank you. Blah blah blah. Whatever. He thanked people. Why
Well,
are you
he
so
thanked
emotional?
everybody, but he.
What are you, a
Well,
baby?
you have to be, man.
What are you, a baby? Stop crying.
Listen, man.
Stop crying, baby.
Oh, you guys.
A shout out to Lauren
But anyways, the
Cronish.
good thing
I
is
see
is
you
that
on
I
the
won
chat.
last week.
Shout out to people on the chat, Lauren Cronish, Franco316, Alex Tarras, who usually says AJ is the best, but now he's saying Dave is the best, which I like. I like the change of tune, Alex. I like that. He's usually saying AJ is the best, AJ's always right, but now he's like Dave is the best, Dave is always right, which is really good.
Well, he wasn't right last week, but
I
it's
am
okay.
converting
Alex,
the
I'll
masses.
forgive you.
I went 4-2, AJ. I was as right as you were on the
You
fights.
lost the main. You lost the main.
We still
event,
had
man.
the same
That's-
record. You took Stefan Struve, and I took Tai Tuivasa. How'd that work out for you, AJ? Not too good.
It didn't
So
work out
you
well.
picked some
No.
fights wrong that I was
But
right
Khabib
in,
did.
and in the end, we both went 4-2 on our predictions. Let's see how we do in our predictions this week. But before we do that, let's talk to you about our friends over at Manscaped. Go Manscape yourself. All right? What are you doing? How is everything going on down there? Is it good? Have you been letting things grow? What's happening? You need to Manscape. You need to get that Lawnmower 3.0. It's now available in Canada. You go to manscaped.com. Use that promo code RINGSIDE20, and when you do, you get free shipping plus 20% off your order on all the Manscaped products. They've got so many great products over at Manscaped. They've got, as I mentioned, that Lawnmower 3.0. They've got the Crop Reviver. They've got the ball deodorant. Your balls, how they smelling? Are they smelling all right? They could be smelling better, believe me. They could be smelling a lot better. You need to get this ball deodorant. You need to get yourself together. You may think you're doing all right there, but I'm telling you, you're not. You need to get it together. If you're not using Manscaped, you don't have optimum balls. You know, your balls and your whole sack area, it needs to be kept clean, it needs to be kept fresh, and you really need Manscaped in your life. So go to manscaped.com, use that promo code RINGSIDE20, and you can get all sorts of great stuff over at Manscaped. Like I mentioned, that Lawnmower 3.0, just a fantastic product, waterproof. It is Weed Whacker. They have the Weed Whacker as well for the ear and nose hair trimmer, another fantastic product. Like, they've got a lot of great stuff over at Manscaped. The holiday season is coming up, okay? I know it's starting to get cold. I know there was some snow around recently, and you want to get some of these things for the holiday season, and you want to start ordering this stuff now. You want to get your holiday shopping out of the way. Have you started Christmas shopping, guys? I have.
What?
And you could already go to Manscaped, okay? Christmas is less than 2 months away now, so you need to get set. And why not get yourself some great stuff from Manscaped? Go to manscaped.com, use that promo code RINGSIDE20, help out the Ringside Report Network, and help yourself out at the same time. Manscaped.com. You have not started Christmas shopping. I have started Christmas shopping. I have purchased at least one gift.
Why,
I have
Dave?
at least one person checked off my list because I am a very good shopper. I shop in advance, and then I'm done by December 15th, so I don't have to rush around and figure things out. I'm
Not
just
even
good at it.
Halloween yet. How can you?
I
bit
went to
excessive,
Walmart the
though?
other day, and they had a whole Halloween section last week when I went to Walmart, and I went to Walmart late yesterday, and their whole Halloween section has been
sanitize?
the whole Halloween section. Of course, as you come in, you all do. It was all converted into a Christmas section. All the Christmas stuff is already out before Halloween. So they took down all, which is strange to me that they would take down all their Halloween stuff like the week of Halloween and put in all their Christmas stuff when Halloween hasn't even happened. But it's Christmas. Forget about Halloween. I went to Canadian Tire too last week. There seemed to be more Christmas decorations than Halloween stuff. I think people are just like, forget Halloween. It's not happening. Let's just go all out for Christmas. That's what it seems
You guys
like.
are
So,
not
Got
passing
canceled.
Halloween?
It's canceled.
I don't know.
No,
I'm
it's
giving
not.
out candies to
We're
the
allowed.
kids, man, for sure.
I'm gonna give out
You're
full-
allowed
allowed
to
to-
give candies to the kids.
I'm giving out full
I'm
size
gonna put
bars
it in a
this year.
tube. I'm gonna. No, what?
Yeah, I got
From where?
a
You gonna shoot it from the window?
full size bars. I have one of those claw things. You like it's like a pincher on one end and it's like a thing so I'm gonna grab the chocolate bar with the pincher and I'm just gonna drop it in their thing with the claw.
No,
That's the
I'm
plan.
doing the tube, man. I want to see the tube. Like, just
You have a
shoot
tube?
down the candies and all that. Yeah, man.
That's
I got
gonna be a
tube. Who doesn't
mess.
have a tube?
Who doesn't have a
No, no,
candy
no, no,
tube?
no.
I mean, most people.
Well, you know what? I've noticed on the street here, not too many people are decorating. I mean, it's kind of
Yeah.
sad. All these kids, man. Man, this COVID has really fucked up a lot of people.
Fred, what are you doing?
I'm just looking at a picture of Wheezy supporting Donald Trump. Oh, you mean
No.
Saturday?
Yeah, for Halloween. I'm glad you're focused on the show. I'm glad you're focused on the show. You're like looking at Lil Wayne pictures for some reason.
I'm gonna be passing a little bit with my daughter, man. There's this stupid law that says that you could only have one adult for each kid. So like, you can't go like
really?
couple and a kid. Yeah, it's fucking Gestapo, fucking
crazy.
government. But anyways, I'm still gonna do a little Halloween.
Yeah, I don't know. We might do a little trick or treating with my boy, but I don't know. We'll see. A bit of trick or treating, not too much. You know, he's still small. You know, but that's about.
Oh,
it.
I'm gonna eat the candy. I'll give it one or two to Susie, but most of the candy's coming to me.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm always eating the candy.
That I can believe.
You can't get enough.
Like,
guys, Halloween this Saturday. Okay, it's not just Halloween, but it's also Anderson Silva's last fight. Last fight ever.
Yep.
Are you guys sad? I'm sad.
I'm
you know what? Really
I'm actually surprised that he's still fighting. He should have retired like, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Think about it.
You know what?
Like,
I got Uriah
look.
Hall causing a surprise. I'm sorry.
He's a favorite. Our friends over at Bet99, you could bet with them at bet99.com. They have the odds right now. I'm looking at them, and they've got Anderson Silva plus 185, Uriah Hall minus 233, the favorite.
I don't think Uriah Hall is that good, but Anderson is old, man. Anderson is like Uriah Hall's a good striker. I bet this fight is going to be a striking fight. I tend to believe that Uriah Hall's going to take it, man. And he might even go for a KO or TKO. Is this a 5-rounder? Should be.
Yeah, it's 5 rounds.
Huh.
It's
I
5
got
rounds.
Uriah
And
Hall.
that's the thing.
I'm going for Uriah.
You've got Anderson Silva, 45 years old, going for like 5 rounds. Mind you, I mean, you know, these guys train for that all the time. I mean, it's not going to be like super difficult as long as he like just paces himself. But the truth is that I like to see Anderson Silva walk away with the win. So I'm going more with heart on this, hoping that Silva wins, retires, and that's it. You know, we put it to rest. But you're right, man. The bookmakers all have Uriah Hall winning this fight.
Yeah.
I'm going with heart on this, and I'm going with emotion again. And I think Anderson Silva knows this is his last fight, and he's going to put everything he can to fight with a guy that's pretty much what they back in the early days. I remember they were calling Hall like the next Anderson Silva. So they're stylistically they're it's a good matchup, you know. But I think Anderson Silva's like experience and his drive to win, you know, he's going to take this fight. I don't think any knockouts are going to happen. I think their bookmakers are giving it a knockout for Uriah Hall, but I think this is going to go the distance. I actually think it's going to go 5 rounds, and Silva's going to walk away with a decision win.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think Anderson's going to pull it off.
Wow.
I think Uriah Hall is going to be very tentative. I think he's going to give Anderson a ton of respect, and he's just not going to be able to pull the trigger. And it's, I think, a good stylistic matchup for Anderson. I think Anderson and Uriah Hall fight the same style, but Anderson does it way better. The problem is Uriah Hall is 9 years younger than Anderson, so he's got that going for him. But I don't know. There's something about Anderson Silva. I root for him. I can't go against him, even though he hasn't knocked anybody out in 8 years. So it's been a while for Anderson, you know, really being the man. He's had a couple wins. He's had a bunch of losses. He's lost his last 2 fights. His last fight. But, you know, Anderson's losses are to fighters that are way better than Uriah Hall. Like, I'm sorry, but you know, he fought Israel Adesanya to a 3-round decision loss, and then he lost to Jared Cannonier. And Jared Cannonier is one of the top 5 middleweights in the world, and he lost to Jared Cannonier because he got leg kicked and his leg kind of snapped because Anderson's got bad legs, you know? Anderson was injured. It was more of an injury there for Anderson than anything in that fight. And you look at the losses to Anderson's record, who does he lose to? Daniel Cormier, Michael Bisping, Chris Weidman.
Look who Uriah Hall lost to recently. Paulo Costa, Musasi, Brunson, Whitaker. Those are good fighters still. Uriah loses.
Brunson?
I mean, he's a good fighter, but I mean,
Anderson
Uriah
beat him.
Hall loses to.
Anderson's only win in the past, like, 7 years. The only guy he's beat is Brunson.
Uriah Hall
All right.
wins.
Yeah, well, you're probably right. You're probably right. I'm just going to be sad when it happens. I just don't want Anderson to get hurt again and, like, scream in the cage. You know, I hate when that happens. When he's like, oh, you know. That's really distressing.
But
I
dude,
don't
his
like
leg
seeing
twisted.
that. I know, it was horrible.
Think about that.
Poor
I mean,
Anderson.
you know, and
He's never been
Anderson
the
was
same.
winning that fight. Weidman killed him. Weidman is like the Sakuraba, like that killed the Gracies. I mean, Weidman killed Silva, and that was the end of his career. Because look, if Silva didn't play the sort of the clown in that fight, he would have won that fight. And you know what? It was a good check on the Muay Thai kick, and it snapped. It was the perfect timed block, and that's what snapped Anderson's leg. And you know what? Every time I think about that, every time I see a leg injury, I think of Anderson Silva, and it freaks me out because that was horrible, man. I can't even recall. I think Crow Cop was. I remember he fought, and I remember his leg twisted backwards, but it didn't break. It was like horrible. I mean, but Silva has like probably the worst leg break in MMA history at this point.
Yeah, it was really gruesome. It was very sad. I hope we see Anderson get a win, walk away. One of the greatest of all time for sure. Anderson Silva. You got to love the Spider. Any other fights on this card you guys care about?
Yeah, touchy-feely that's fighting that Charles Jourdain fought, and in my opinion, I thought he won, and most people did, and so did Dana White. But they're giving the fight to touchy-feely here, and yeah, I mean
that's
that
the co-main event.
with Mitchell.
Andre Feely against Bryce Mitchell. Mitchell is the favorite, minus 139. Feely plus 114. Here are the odds that I'm getting at Bet99.
I agree. I would go with Mitchell on this fight, and if I had to pick a way that this guy's going to win, it's going to be submission because this guy is awesome in that game. But that should be a pretty good fight. You know, it's not the best card out there, but it's
look. There's some names, you know, like Kevin Holland fought a couple of months ago. He had a nice performance on that Colby Covington fight card. And look, Greg Hardy, I hope he loses, but I'll watch it. Like I hope I could cheer for him to lose. And Bobby Green. I mean, there's some names on this. Yeah, he'll probably win because they gave him another jabroni. But
they gave Greg Hardy another jabroni. He's a heavy favorite, minus 333. Green plus 255, the underdog. Greg Hardy will probably win this fight. I don't like Greg Hardy. I saw him say he's not human. He's like whatever, and I'm like, dude. And this is the same guy who used an asthma inhaler like in between rounds during one of his fights, totally illegally, which I thought he had a serious like breathing issue. If you need an asthma pump in between rounds during a fight, should you be fighting during a COVID pandemic? Like I thought people who had that kind of thing like shouldn't be going outside. I don't know. Shouldn't Greg Hardy stay his ass home?
Listen, you know,
I guess people there are tired of getting beat up, so they send him to the UFC.
Look, I have no problem with the guy taking the inhaler in between rounds. It's not like it's going to improve his fighting skills or whatnot. It's just going to help him breathe, you know, and be at an equal playing field with
which is a big part of fighting.
It is, but when you have like a condition like asthma, it is, man, because listen, he's still going to be gassed even if he takes the inhaler.
So since Anderson Silva is older, is he allowed to use something that's going to make him younger or feel as young as Uriah Hall? Come on, man. You can't have that.
No, look, that's a
asthma
good point.
or
no,
not.
You know what, Freddie? You bring up a good point, but it's not the same here. You're talking with, an illness that can affect him. Like even when he was playing football, he was taking that inhaler, and whatever he does, you know, he goes for a jog, he has to bring that inhaler.
I just feel that could be abuse. You just get a shady doctor to give you a thing that you're allowed to do it, you know, so nah.
Yeah.
Look, you know what? Like,
screw
you brought
Greg
up something
Hardy.
very interesting. You got Anderson Silva, and
stop trying to bring him sympathy. He sucks.
Look, Silva got caught with drugs in his last fights, and whatnot. But I think you bring up a good point, and I think it was brought up by when we spoke to Elis Theodorou and all those guys that had medical conditions, and he couldn't use cannabis as part of his medical prescription. So there's a lot of guys out there that need it, but they can't use it, so they're being judged. But the truth of the matter is that I think there should be a point now where, they should allow certain, um, I don't want to say steroids, but like, certain vitamins that can help someone's career. So that they
You
don't
don't want
wither
to say
away like
steroids,
so
so you'll
fast.
say vitamins.
I'll
Some
say
picograms.
special vitamins,
Yeah, why don't you just
picograms,
say it?
and if they allow picograms, then you know what? Then John Jones is fighting fair, and then Anderson Silva is fighting fair, and a lot of other guys are fighting fair. So there should be certain things that should be allowed. And if it's certain things that are acceptable that everybody can take to make their performance or at least their training performance a lot better, do it. If somebody needs an asthma pump because they need it because unfortunately that's their condition, let them have it. If somebody needs medical marijuana because that's part of like their condition, let them have it. So
If
I'm
somebody
saying if
wants
you're
to
doing
do all
cocaine
the
and heroin
steroids
and
and be
everything,
in
that kind of stuff.
TRT and all that stuff, let them do it. If somebody
Yeah.
wants to do
No,
coke,
no,
let
I'm
them
not
do
saying
it.
all. I'm saying let's, Bellator.
I'm a
Like tonight
libertarian.
there's
I'm with
Bellator
you, man.
fights. Look, Bellator is fighting tonight, and they have like, testing and whatnot. But they allow a lot of different things to go through in their fighters more than the UFC. And you know what? I mean, look, if it's like serious things, they should be banned. You know. But I know that they do transfusions with cleansing of the blood and putting oxygen in the blood and that kind of stuff. You know what? I don't know. I have no problems with that. I mean, I have no problems with that if everybody's allowed to do it. That's all I'm saying.
Bellator is happening right now. You mentioned Bellator. We could give
Yeah,
Bellator
Musashi.
results. Gegard is fighting tonight, which is always exciting. I think I have a feed here even. I think I might be watching this fight.
Douglas Lima, man, and Musashi. That's going to be an amazing fight again.
Yeah, that's a great fight. That's a really good fight.
The only thing that I'm kind of disappointed is that you got Bellator that has an amazing fight like this, but they're doing it on a Thursday night. I
Yeah,
mean,
why?
look, I don't understand how their marketing team thinks, and they want to challenge the UFC or whatnot. But you've got to fight on
Why
a
not?
Saturday night with Anderson Silva. Listen, Thursday night is not the night. You do it on a Friday night when people are home.
Well, I
When
agree.
people
Thursday
most of the
because
time
we're
are
on the
chilling.
air.
But Thursday, not only because we're on the air, but I'm just saying. Look,
Other sports
not
have
a
week
great
shows.
night.
Why not MMA?
Listen, if you've got your only, this is your main event card. Why would you do it on a Thursday? Listen, you're doing it on a Thursday. It's going to bring the same results as a Wednesday, Tuesday, or a Monday. You'll have better results if it's on a Friday, Saturday, even on a Sunday card, man. You'll have better results. It just doesn't make sense how they could go around and post a fight on a Thursday. I don't see any actual benefits to that, but somehow or another, their marketing team decided maybe it's cheaper on television rights or
It's
whatever.
in your
But
holy
it doesn't
book
work
of
in their
MMA.
favor.
I mean, he's not wrong
Yeah,
though.
in
I
my
mean,
holy book.
You shall not fight on Thursdays.
I mean, are they getting
Absolutely.
big ratings on the Thursday? Like Fred,
No.
do you
Are
even
they
know?
getting big ratings? Period.
I don't know. Do you know that it's not even available on TV in Canada? Like you can't even watch
It used
Bellator
to
on
be.
TV in Canada anymore. You used to be able to watch
Well,
it on it was used to
Paramount.
be Spike TV, Paramount, right? But now it's not on
Right.
Paramount anymore. It's on the CBS Sports Network. And guess what? We don't get CBS Sports Network in Canada. So if you want to watch Bellator in Canada, you have to pay $20 a month and subscribe to DAZN. You have to pay
And
$20
that's the
for
problem.
$20 a month for Bellator if you're a Canadian Bellator MMA fan, and it's on a Thursday night. Like I think, whatever the night, if that's one thing, but the fact that it's not even on TV in Canada. I mean, you could watch it on CBS Sports in the States, but like, it's hard to find Bellator, and when it's on a weird night, it makes it even harder to find. AJ's not
And
fully
that's the
wrong,
thing.
Fred. I'm sorry.
Look, and that's the thing. You want to compete against the UFC, and you got guys like Musashi. It just doesn't make sense. That's a
But there's
fight that you
nothing
put
else
like
on TV
all the rest
tonight.
of your roster. Dude,
There's nothing else on TV. Why
but
not?
it's
Why
not
not on
enough.
Thursday?
So there's gonna be nothing. There's gonna be nothing on a Friday night. Tomorrow night, there's no baseball. There's no hockey. There's no soccer. There's probably some MLS game going on. But if you want to, get like any type of sports fan to watch something. Tomorrow night is just as is a great night. There's nothing going on, so why do a Thursday? Maybe they were like forecasting that the World Series or something. I don't know what it is. Might have went further and it would have hit a Friday night. It's possible, but the thing is that you got to think about your sport, and try to make your sport number one. By doing it on a Thursday night is not driving like that audience, and the difficulties to get to that
Hey
fight,
AJ.
like
Hey
Dave
AJ.
was saying,
Hey
is
AJ.
crazy.
Could you stop
Yo.
burying doing a show on Thursday night?
No. Our show is perfect because because we're not actually doing the sport. If I want to watch the actual fight, why do it on a Thursday night? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, these are the nights to talk about sports. If you want to show the sports, it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's it, man.
Johnny North
Friday
says
Night Lights.
Johnny North says the prelims were free on YouTube, and he saw Hager's fight. So Hager fought on the prelims, which is interesting, and Johnny saw it for free on YouTube. So that's cool.
Yeah, but you know what? Here we are, like doing shows on MMA. I didn't even know that it was on YouTube, and that's the problem. You don't even know. They don't even have like such a marketing strategy where people could even know that they can watch these fights on YouTube, and that's what sucks, man.
Well, you're supposed to know, AJ.
You're supposed to know.
We are supposed to know, but you know what? I look at what I'm supposed to know is that Khabib winning, Khabib being like pound for pound number one, and that kind of stuff. But Bellator is not helping myself as a MMA fan or helping our show or all the rest of the shows that are out there, knowing what their product really is. And
so Gegard Mousasi, Douglas Lima, the 170 champion in Bellator, is moving up to 185 to fight Gegard Mousasi. That's a main event. It should be kicking off in a couple of minutes now, so I think we're going to go watch it here together in a minute. And we're going to wrap up the show here in a second. You know, the fights here for UFC on Saturday, it's really all about Anderson Silva. I'm looking at the rest of the card, and, Greg Hardy's fighting, whatever, but it's not the best UFC card. It really is the Anderson Silva retirement party. What a career it's been for the Spider. What a guy.
Amazing, man.
What a guy. And as we go,
Best fight ever.
Fred, should I reveal what's in the bag?
Oh, no, I thought you were going to say Anderson Silva's best fight ever.
What's his best
Chael
fight
Sonnen.
ever?
I think it was the Chael Sonnen fight.
I'd say the Vitor front kick to the face. That was my favorite. The Chael one was very stressful because he was getting his ass kicked for so long, and then when he came back and won at the end, like that was pretty miraculous because he's getting beat up for 4.5 rounds, and then at the end, 90 seconds to go, he pulls that triangle on Chael to retain the title and keep the streak going. That was really impressive. The front kick to Vitor's face, that was great. The moving in another dimension when he fought Forrest Griffin, that was pretty amazing too. The way he moved around Forrest and like that was nuts.
Destruction of Rich Franklin.
Yeah, the destruction of Chris Lieben even when he was in there early in his UFC career. Anderson has had some amazing fights. And the Chael too, right? The Chael rematch. I remember saying for so long, like, Anderson is going to destroy Chael second time around. Fred, were you saying Chael was going to win second time around? I think you were.
I thought Chael had it.
I think you were. Didn't we have, like, a thing
he dominated.
Going? I thought we had a thing going where I was like, yo, Anderson is going to smoke Chael next time.
He still won the first four. He still won the first 4 rounds, Chael.
No, but the second time. Yeah, but the second time, like, you knew that Anderson didn't take Chael that seriously first time around, and second time around,
that knee was illegal.
Chael pissed him off, and he was like honed in.
That was a knee to the face. Chael was on it.
It was right here. It was right here. High chest,
Anderson
bro.
Silva's a cheater.
High chest. It's not illegal.
No. You got trained by Steven Seagal, so he's no cheater, man. Let me
exactly. Seagal would never train a cheater.
Greatest martial artist of all time.
Oh, yeah.
Steven the Seagal.
All right. Fred, I'm going to let you know what I got here, all right?
What's in there?
Special delivery from the government of Quebec. You know what I'm saying?
What is that? The
Trick
Lalos?
or treat, baby. Royal Highness. Very good stuff here. Monkey
Sponsored
glue.
by the Queen.
Monkey glue, also very nice. What else do we have here in this bag of goods? They do same-day delivery now. Fantastic. Weed delivered by the government. Hawaii Heartbreak. All right, how about that? Hawaii Heartbreak. That's tasty. This is one of my favorites of all time. Chocolope. Can't go wrong with a little lope. And what else do we have? Oh, yeah.
Chocolate Del. Nice.
Oh, yeah. This is chocolate fondue. The fondue.
Chocolate fondue.
And then we have, what's this here? A Royal Highness again. Your Royal Highness. See what I'm saying?
Prince Andrew.
What a
I like
beautiful
smoking that,
country we live in. You know, we could complain about all the things, but, you know, Quebec, you got same-day weed delivery brought to you by the government. Like, they don't have that in America. Unbelievable. What a country we live in. What a country. God bless Canada. God bless us all. Whatever happens in the States, whatever happens in the States on Tuesday, let's just remember that we have legal weed across the country. They do same-day delivery to your home, delivered by the government. It's super tasty, and you've got Ringside Report for free every what day is this? Thursday at 8 p.m.
Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
Too much of that legal weed. I forget what day it is.
www.ringsidereport.net.
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget your wrestling show, Wrestling Uncensored with Johnny North, and let's hope you don't flip out again like you did last week, which I thought was like the funniest thing ever. I loved it. I was rolling on the ground, man. Dave, I'm telling you, I thought it was part of the show, which I still think it's part of the show. But Johnny, man, and your brother, man, that was classic. But you got to keep it up. That's the stuff that I like to see. As somebody who watches like all kinds of podcasts and different shows, when Dave flips out, it's classic. I love it. Even when he flips out with us, it's like I don't want to get like. I start laughing because it's fucking funny, man. But it's great. But like your fans say, Dave, don't quit.
Yeah, well, I think I'm gonna slow down watching so much WWE because I think it finally broke me. I think that's what's really happening is that the WWE and their terrible programming finally broke me, and I was like, you know what? I cannot sit in a room and watch this garbage anymore. I need to walk around and stop paying so much attention. Just when you're doing those watch-alongs, you're sitting there and it's just in your face. And when I watch WWE, I just watched Raw. I'm going to tell you, I fast-forwarded through. I watched a 3-hour Monday Night Raw in about, I'd say 30 minutes because I watched, AJ Styles promo, AJ Styles wrestle, and then I skipped over most of the rest of the show because I was like, no, I can't do this anymore. I've seen enough bad WWE. I'm skipping through a lot of this stuff, and I get the gist of it. So these watch-along pay-per-view things, it's just like, it's torture to watch these shows. WWE is so bad, it's become like torture to watch. That's how bad it is. I mean, for example, what did they do on Raw this week that I skipped through that was so bad? They did, like, The Miz versus Drew McIntyre. That was an actual match that they did on Raw this week. Miz versus Drew McIntyre. I was like, no, there's no way I'm sitting through this. This is terrible. Click, click, click. Fast forwarded through that thing. Oh, he beat him with a Claymore. No shit. I wonder how the rest of the match was. Mediocre at best? Cool. Next. I just don't need to watch this stuff anymore. All right? Rant over.
It's too bad. It's too bad.
Well, I mean, I'm going to still watch some of it. I'm going to, catch the good bits, but I'm going to fast forward through a lot of it. And if Johnny tells me that I have to go back and watch something because he saw it and it was good, maybe I will. But a lot of this WWE stuff, like just the way it is right now, especially Raw. SmackDown I don't have so much of a problem with, except when they, when Roman Reigns has his pay-per-view matches. Those are bad. Like the card for Survivor Series looks so bad. So bad. November's not a good month, guys. I'm just telling you guys, November's not going to be fun for UFC or for WWE. I'm looking at November for UFC. You got Thiago Santos versus Glover Teixeira on November 7th. That's good. The November 14th UFC show is headlined by, I think, Islam Makhachev versus Rafael Dos Anjos.
Islam is the future, man.
Okay.
Now that's somebody I want to watch.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Holy smokes.
But then it's UFC 255 is headlined by who? Davison Figueiredo and somebody else for the flyweight title. Like UFC 255, the next pay-per-view. You think the Khabib pay-per-view didn't sell much? The next UFC pay-per-view is going to sell maybe 100,000. That thing is a joke.
Yeah, but that
How
can change.
the hell are they putting that
Dave.
together? No, I don't know about
Dave,
that.
that can change.
And then you got Derek Lewis and Curtis Blades fighting on the 28th of November. That'll be fun. And then we start December with Darren Till versus Jack Hermanson on the 5th of December. So that'll be a good middleweight fight. Like, there's some good main events, but the cards aren't really that stacked. And the next pay-per-view is just like, doesn't even have a good main event. Like, the fight night cards in November are like the main events for every fight night card are better than the main event for the pay-per-view. What the hell is that about? The pay-per-view main event is supposed to be the best main event of the month, but every other card in November is way better. Like, I agree with you. Islam Makhachev, Rafael dos Anjos, yes. That other fight, Davison Figueiredo against, like, I don't even know who he's fighting. Who's he fighting, Fred? What's UFC 255? It's goddamn terrible.
Alex Perez.
Who is Alex Perez? I know Paul Perez. I don't know Alex Perez. Jennifer Maia against Carlos Perez, Pascual Perez. I know those guys. I don't know Alex Perez, okay? Valentina Shevchenko against Jennifer Maia. Like, Valentina's good and all, but, like, on pay-per-view, that's your double main event for pay-per-view, the flyweight titles. Then you have Brandon Moreno versus Brandon Royval, the battle of the Brandons. The loser's just Bran. And then Shogun against Paul Craig. Like, at least they have Shogun on this card to kind of make you give a shit. But god damn, that's a terrible pay-per-view. Terrible pay-per-view.
I think you got Jose Aldo versus Marlon Vera to finish it.
Well, I guess that's all right. And Robbie Lawler was supposed to fight Mike Perry, but Lawler is out of the fight. And now maybe Perry's going to fight somebody else. There was talk that Perry might fight Khamzat. I'd like to see that. Let Khamzat knock Perry's face off. That'd be fun.
Destroy him, man.
Yeah, but Khamzat's going to fight Leon Edwards. Khamzat's fighting Leon Edwards in December. That's a good top 5 welterweight. He beats that guy. Title shot time for Khamzat. For real.
Yeah.
All right.
This November 21st card, man, it's
terrible. It's awful.
Yeah.
It is a terrible pay-per-view. It's going to sell 0 units. No one will buy this thing. And if you compare it to the main events, of the rest of the month for UFC, RDA and Islam. Thiago Santos, Glover Teixeira on the 7th of November. That's a sick main event. Thiago Santos, Glover Teixeira is good. They're doing too many cards. Like, if they had Thiago Santos, Glover Teixeira, RDA, Islam Makhachev on this pay-per-view would be a lot better. But instead, they have them on their own fight nights filled with a bunch of jabroni fights underneath. And that's what they're doing. Anderson Silva, like on Saturday, that's a good fight. Maybe the co-main event is pay-per-view worthy. Everything else is like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. Bunch of jabronis. Who cares? It doesn't really matter. Next. So if you combined Anderson Silva and, whatever with the next pay-per-view, yeah, it'd be a better pay-per-view. But that's not what they're doing. So look out November. It's going to suck for the UFC, especially for the next UFC pay-per-view. And the WWE Survivor Series card that I saw looks even worse. So I'm not looking forward to any big events in November. I think AEW has their pay-per-view Full Gear, so that'll be all right. Kenny versus Hangman, that'll be fun. Bucks versus FTR. AEW's pay-per-view looks good, but WWE's next pay-per-view, UFC's next pay-per-view, 2 thumbs down, Thunderdome style.
Look, Dana White doesn't care. I think he fulfilled his contract with ESPN to get all these fights out by the end of the year, which he's done.
They're filling time.
Delivered.
They're filling time.
Exactly, but he delivered.
Great.
So he doesn't really care if the pay-per-view sells or not because regardless, he fulfilled his contract. So, but the truth is that they should have had, there's so many other fighters out there that could have made that pay-per-view so much more interesting. And not to take away, I want to see Shogun fight, but Shogun was on a fight night not too long ago, and here he is on a pay-per-view. So the thing is that, this card needs help, and not to take away from Figueiredo, which he's an amazing fighter, but
guys, I'm gonna go watch the Gegard Mousasi fight. Go Gegard! I love Gegard, so I'm gonna wrap this show up. We can all go watch Gegard fight now. For Bellator, for AJ and Freddie, I am Dave. Go to our website, ringsidereport.net. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Subscribe to us on Twitch. Follow us on Facebook and all that good stuff. Ringsidereport.net is our website. Follow Freddie at Freddie MMA. Follow me at Dave Simon MMA on Twitter and Instagram. Follow AJ at Dan E. Bruck.